Well, good afternoon, councillors, executive team, those in the gallery. Welcome to our Planning and Environment Development Committee meeting for the 6th of July 2022. And I would like to start off by acknowledging those who are present and apologies. And I believe we have apologies from the Councillor Jamie Chaffey and Councillor Murray O'Keefe. And who else have we got over there? An absentee?
Jam.
Okay, righto. Would the General Manager, would someone like to move that those, thank you, Councillor Moses, and seconded by Councillor Fuller, that we accept those apologies. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Declarations of interest, that is the next one. We have declarations of interest from Councillor O'Keefe, I believe, has declarations of interest on both items. Has he presented his declaration of interest to Council? I believe that's coming at a later date, the actual reasons for his declaration. Has anybody got any further information on that? Okay, so any other declarations of interest? Then we do have some presentations this afternoon, and who would like to come forward first? And Mr. Ratz, would you like to come forward? I believe you have a presentation to Council. If you'd like to come forward to the desk just here, we'll give you 5 minutes. You probably don't need 5 minutes, but we'll give you 5 minutes, and then we'll open the floor for councillors to ask some questions so that you can inform. Okay. Very good. I thought there was one from I believe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you very much for the opportunity, for being able to present and to present about my love. Next slide, please. First, I would like to start with acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the Council's planners' due diligence process, which proved to be very much attention to detail, very robust processes that we've got here, and that's good to see. Rules, and I really appreciate that. I'm a manager of a team who I also like when they stick to the rules, because men's and women's lives depend on it. So I appreciate that, and I'm not here to argue at all. I believe that the rules were well applied for a standard land that is available to purchase in Canada for anyone. I'm here to talk about my land that is, I think, very much a special one, a unique one, and not a standard, and from every angle. Next slide, please. So first of all, I would like to tell a story about love. In 2019, when we arrived in Canada, we were blown away by how beautiful this town is and all the landscapes, the kind, open people with enthusiasm for diversity. We felt really welcome. However, we are from a different country with my wife. And we were blown away, obviously, the view from the Porcupine in any directions. And then we were just driving around and accidentally found 8 Grace Place. And we looked at the view and it was amazing. We said to each other, wow, someone must be so lucky to be building here. We didn't know that no one was building there. In 2021 April, then I got my dream job with Whitehaven Coal. I'm a manager of mine systems and control. And it's a great opportunity for a technical person like me. And I said, let's settle. Let's build a house here. Let's build not just a house, let's build our dream house. Where? Well, let's drive around again. And as we were driving around, we got to Grace Place again, kind of accidentally. And we saw that nothing was done there. No one was building there. So there it goes, everything, love, passion, dream. So I said, let's do it. Next slide, please. Well, this is the view that made me fall in love and this is just truly amazing. And every day is different. Every time of the day is different. And trust me, I went up there hundreds of times, so I have a lot of photos. Next slide, please. So now I would like to continue with a story about frustration. I didn't know what I was signing up for, but the passion and enthusiasm is still there. So in between June and September, that was the pre-planning period where I was going through 20 years of history, bad history, very bad, that I have nothing to do with. Engineering reviews of the retaining walls, engineering reviews of the garage, engineering reviews whether we can build on the top of that garage. So it was a lot of time and effort and money put into it. Then in September, the draft design was done by DNC Projects. I got in touch with the planners about my design. They obviously mentioned the boundaries that we were inside already within the 7.5 meter. And we said that we will have to address it at the DA application. Then September to December, another frustration story with the banks and builders. Banks just couldn't give mortgage because it is neither an empty land nor a house to be renovated. This is between, so they just couldn't put it anywhere. Neither of their procedures applied to it. The builders didn't want to build, too complicated, afraid of the retaining wall. They said they have to demolish everything. Then maybe, well, that's around $300,000 worth of retaining walls there. So I would like to keep them. Thank you. Then the builders, I asked around 20 builders. One said yes. 2 months it took to get a quote. Prices were already rising of raw material. And then banks, after 3 months of providing ability to resell engineering designs, getting a quote from the builder, they said yes. So finally, the pre-approval was done. I acquired the land right away in December last year. Full of hope, full of dreams, full of love. Then frustration continued. The builders, the only one builder who said yes to me of the 20 pulled out. And I had another 2 months to find another one, another crazy one. He said yes, so he's now waiting for this application outcome. March, we started to, we lodged this application with Stewart Survey and Northwest Project's great help. And then in April, we got the rejection notice for 3 points. I met the planners trying to brainstorm. We still got rejected, and I met even Andrew. There were no news, so I hoped. There was a fire services application. I hoped again. And then on Monday, I found out that I have to come and present. So I'm here and presenting today. Next slide, please. So let's go back to love. I've put in so far 14 months of my life, energy, time, money, and spent around 30K on engineering and drafting works, and we had countless sleepless nights because of that. What I'm doing is basically desperately asking for adaptability, which is one of the traits of a successful business. It is not a general site. I would like that to be acknowledged, that it is a complicated, unique site with history. It came from a different time. It came with its shortcomings, with a long history of unapproved development, abandonment, and neglect. What I ask of the respected council is to consider this site a truly unique site and look at my application as a unique application. And please, let me fix it. I love it. This is really love. So now I would like to go to the logical reasoning part of my presentation, where I'm just going to say a few reasons, background information. So the house that would fit there with the planners' reinforced rules would be a single-story building with 3 small rooms and 1 bedroom. Maybe, sorry, that's a typo, 1 bathroom. I have a family of 4 and we're expanding. And further information, I have ankylosing spondylitis. It's an autoimmune spine disease. It's irreversible, requires maintenance. I need a gym. I need to swim regularly. Sauna is also prescribed by my doctor. And I thought, you know, after that many years of service, hard work, I can deserve one. And I can build one. And my kids also can inherit my disease. So for me, it's important that I'm building their future too there, for them to be able to avoid this disease, to swim regularly, to go to the gym regularly, etc. This development is also very important for me for multiple reasons. It is a milestone in my life that I have been building my life toward. I'm from a poor family, with not much opportunities. When I was young, I had to live in one room with my brother and my stepsister, and promised myself back there that I won't let my kids to have to go through that. And how awesome is that we live in Australia, where actually we can afford doing so, to have a room for each kid. I have 2 master degrees, have been working in mining 12, 13 hours a day for the last 15 years. I would like to build my dream house with the things it needed for my family's health, with enough rooms for my family and for my guests. For example, when we pay for the grandparents' visit from overseas to see their grandsons that, for example, they haven't seen for 3 years because of COVID. I need to be able to build a 2-story building, and I'm logged in. I cannot expand sideways, but upwards. And if I cannot, I probably cannot do anything else. I will have to abandon my love. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick, I designed it inside. Well, on the first floor, basically, it's nothing special. There would be a health section and the kids section and the bath. And then on the next slide, please, there would be just a normal living area, a sleep place where we love each other, and a bath and grandparents or anyone who visits us. Really nothing else that fits there. And that's 2 stories. Next one, please.
Excuse me for interrupting. Have you got much more? You're over your 5 minutes.
Only 50 more slides. Just five more slides.
Make it brief.
Thank you. So if I cannot build a 2-story building, sadly, I will have to abandon my project and it will remain undeveloped. Next slide, please. If I can build a 2-story, the look, again, it's a logical reasoning, the look will not be looking any different. No matter if we push it back 1 meter or 2, it will look the same from the street. And if I cannot build it, then it's going to turn into an investment nightmare and it will remain undeveloped. Next one, please. So this is how it's going to look like, as this is how it looks like right now. And I would like to, next slide, please. Next slide. I would like it to look like this. And next one, please. So a unique approach to development is required given the unique nature of the site. That's what I would like to get, a unique approach. The planner's main reasons for object area on the basis of bulk and scale of development, if it was a standard residential block. The section below shows the ridge of the roof is lower than the top of the existing retaining wall on the side, please. So basically, even if I don't build that house, the retaining wall will be even higher and very much in front of everyone's eyes. Next one, please. Setbacks. The adjoining residence to the west of the 8 grey spaces, 5 grey space, and it already has came into the 7.5 meters with a setback of 4.4 meters, and at the proposed residence is 5.1 meter at this particular point. The proposed building will have a strong visual presence due to its location at the end of the cul-de-sac and the topography of the site, because it's the highest on the street. We do not believe that increasing the setback from the front boundary would reduce the visual presence of the proposed residence from Grace Place. So it doesn't matter how much we would like to push it in or out, it's going to be there. It's going to be able to be seen. Next one, please. And as you can see, those proposed, the boundaries that are already there in the first 2 circles, they are going not just into the 7.5, they are already in the council land that was illegally constructed, as we know, by the previous owner. I can't do anything with them. And the existing building is already at 4 meters, and the neighboring building is at 4. So I'm just trying to fit in my house there. Next one, please. And as you can see, there's nowhere to move. So I can't go left, right, front, back. All I can do is go up. And that's why I believe that it is a unique situation and it's a unique land, because it's fully constrained by the
I think we'll have to cut it there. Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions for Mr. Ratz?
Mr. Ratz, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I really feel sorry for you with this block. It is an awkward block, and the way it is at the moment is dreadful. And if it's to remain like that, it's going to be a terrible eyesore on Gunnedah and Grace Place, and whether someone else will pick it up who knows? I just think some of the things you said were, I think you need to discuss further with planning, and particularly you raised the issue with height. I don't know whether that is such a big issue from my interpretation of it, but certainly it's the front setback, and councils has precedence, and I think that's something, if you get an opportunity, you need to talk with council. And I was looking at the plan, and I can come up with some suggestions. I mean, I've been involved to a lesser extent in coastal real estate, and these DAs go backwards and forwards from council to proponents. Neighbours object. It's nothing new to have problems with DAs, and particularly in this sort of site, and where you're trying to capture a view is great. So my feeling to you would be sit down and talk to people and see if there isn't something that can be kind of put forward that will allow you to build your dream that you love, and at the same time comply with what council requires across the whole council, not just that one site. So would you be prepared to negotiate on some of the points, which is really the distance to the road?
I thought I have already sat down with the planners quite a few times, and I've even escalated it to Andrew. When we were talking with the planners and Andrew, we were talking about, I've also got the render of a building that is pushed back 2 meters, and I put it down and I asked, what's the difference? So, you know, negotiation, absolutely, why not? I just can't see what the point is to have the building at where it is proposed, or a meter back where we reach the garage anyway. So it's only out because of the, mainly because of the step out, the little terrace, or how would you call it, al fresco. So my point is that I'm constrained. I can't push it back. I can just chop off. So if we start chopping off, will that make such difference if we chop 1 meter off of my building? That was my question, and I hope it is logical enough to say that it's not really about negotiation, it's about common sense I'm trying to get to. It's so moving the building is not, it's just chopping, slicing off the features I would like.
Councillor Luke.
Thank you. Well, I got whole screen. Can you advise, and good afternoon, can you advise of the sort of reasons why you had so many builders reject and your final builder pulling out, and have you got a new builder?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It is because no one wants to build there. It's too complicated for them. It's not a standard area, they say. Even if I provided all the engineering designs and engineering approvals for everything as it is in the approval as well, they said, "Oh, no, I have enough standard orders." And they also are afraid of the retaining wall because they didn't build it, so they are worried about warranty. Especially the big builders. The small builders, they're fine. For example, the current builder I found, he said he was going to also do a remedial work on it. So around $50,000 to $100,000 of my spending will be remedial work further.
Thank you.
Any other councillor got a question? Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Adams, I have to say I found your presentation incredibly persuasive.
Thank you.
Obviously, I can't speak on behalf of the other councillors, but I have zero desire to stop you from building the home. And certainly, I think the more subjective elements, such as, you know, the surrounding environment, the streetscape, I would feel comfortable overlooking those aspects to ensure that you can go 2 stories. I don't think that's an unreasonable request at all. However, I am inclined to agree with Councillor Hoddle that the setback is an issue, certainly, and there is an element of discretion in that. I'm not a builder, I'm not an engineer, so certainly my input might not be relevant here, but looking at the plans that you showed us, would you be perhaps willing to compromise slightly in terms of reducing the size of kind of the gym and the pool slightly in order to have that bottom part set back enough, but perhaps still have the top half the way that you want, or a compromise of that nature?
You know, if I have to, I would. Again, my question is really that, you know, it's a unique project, and I have done a render. I have the files available. I have, paid for someone to do a render of whether the building is there where it is, or 1.8 meters behind where the garage is that I can't change. So to line it up with the garage, and there's absolutely no difference in look, no matter where you're looking at it. And I had further presentation slides where it was shown that that house is only visible from Baxter Street and Grace Place intersection. Anywhere else, it's not visible. So when if someone goes up to even to the Grace Place and you do this between the two renders, there's no difference. That's my point here. And yes, I am willing to negotiate. I just can't see the point of this unique situation where what we are going to gain really. And apart from there are rules that has been set in the past, I don't know, 5-10 years, and we need to comply with them. So with all the respect, that's my point. But again, if we have to, we have to. Just I can't see what we gain, especially see what we gain.
Mr. Ratzer, if I may sort of just summarise a little of what these two councillors were saying, that I think we're worried about the setback, the precedent that it's creating. Council quite often will accept a variation which is outside the normal guidelines. In this case, I think we're really concerned about the amount outside the guidelines. It's over 200% outside the guidelines. And I think what council is trying to find a way so that you can build your dream home. By the same token, we don't want to create a precedent that is then going to cause problems for future councils in the future. So what we're trying to determine without caucusing here before the determination is made is that if you could come back to planning and we could get something that we accept it's outside the guidelines, but it's not quite so significantly outside the guidelines. If you were to come back maybe a metre or something like that, that we can say, yes, it's acceptable, we can live with that. That's all. We're just trying to determine whether you're willing to sit down and maybe rejig the plans. And rejigging is a very loose term when it's cost you a lot of money already. But if you could rejig those plans and come back to us again, that's where I think council may actually be heading without trying to second guess what council has actually determined.
Thank you very much. The answer is, as I said, yes, I'm willing to do that. All I was just asking is whether it's worth it. So whether we really gain something. But if that's the outcome that yes, we gain, then I'll have to do that. I would like to build my love, not abandon it. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for your presentation, and I think it's been very worthwhile. We spent some time on it earlier today. We went up and we did a site visit, and we've been thoroughly briefed by staff on this one because we feel it's what you're trying to achieve is very important. We're not in the business of knocking people back if we can possibly avoid it. So if there is some other way that we can move forward together, then I think it'd be a good thing. So thank you very much for taking your time.
Thanks very much.
Councillors, item 3 on our agenda is a report of Director Planning Environmental Services, Mr. Johns, and we hand over to you, Mr. Johns, for item 3.1, development application number 2022-049, change of usage to a medical centre, lot 2, DP 25217 90 Marquis Seat, Gunnedah. And I hand over to you, Mr. Johns, to outline your recommendation.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor, and through you, councillors. As you would have read in the report, this report relates to a proposed change of use to a medical centre at 90 Marquis Street. The reason it's come to council is because the applicant has sought a minor departure to the development control plan. This site has what we call an historical deficiency of parking. So we acknowledge that there is a deficiency on that site, and the proposed change of use would, I guess, increase or intensify that historical deficiency by only one space. And the recommendation is that you support the change to the development control plan in this instance, given the overall community benefit and the minor nature of that departure.
Thank you, Mr. Johns. Do I have a councillor? Thank you, Councillor Fuller, and seconded by Councillor McGrath. Councillor Fuller, do you wish to?
No, I don't think so.
Thank
I'm
you.
very happy for the development to go ahead. And I'm very pleased to see that that this may take some burden off our doctors as well. So very happy to support it, and congratulations to Whitehaven.
Do I have a councillor I'd like to ask a question or speak against? So, Councillor Hoddle.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'd just like to ask, in your application, or in this application, there's a time limit that the building operate from Monday to Friday from 7 to 6 p.m. That worries me because medical people run all hours and people need to see doctors at all hours. And what's that?
You can't ask them. You
Oh.
can't ask them.
Can I ask him?
You can't ask questions.
Ask me.
I'm asking you, Andrew. Yeah. Okay. Well, in the application, there's this the building will operate between Monday to Friday, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, in my life of observing doctors and vets or whatever professional people, they often work outside those hours, and I just wonder why that's in there.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Hoddle. The reason it's in there is because the applicants asked for that to be the time limit. So had they come to us with an application for 24/7 operation, we could have assessed the application on that basis and notified adjoining owners and that type of thing. So the only reason that's in there is because that's what they've asked for.
Councillor McGrath, a seconder, do you wish to make any comment?
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Only to say, I think that obviously attracting doctors has been a priority for a long period of time, and that this initiative will create a net benefit for the community. So I think it is worthwhile to overlook some of the issues around parking in order to ensure that we're attracting more services to the community.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. There'd be no further comment. Then Councillor Fuller, you have further comment?
One question.
Me.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I think you're for. Can I actually?
Councillor Luke.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Can I just confirm with the director that because of the historical use of that site, the number of net car park spots that are supposed to be provided with such a development is one car park site that's not able to be provided. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. As the mover, do you wish to make further comment, Councillor Fuller?
Just one through you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Whitehaven will be able to come back and increase those times in the future. Johns, thank you.
Through you, Mr Deputy Mayor, yes. Essentially, they could modify the consent tomorrow, assuming the council approves it today.
Any further discussion? Then I put the motion. All those in favour? A show of hands. That is unanimous. Juliana, yes, that is unanimous. Thank you. Moving right along, item 3.2, development application number 2022/019, construction of a double-storey dwelling house and front boundary fence, lot 59 DP 514051, 8 Grays Place, Gunnedah. And I hand back to Mr. Johns to outline his recommendation.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, Mr Deputy Mayor, other and through you. Councillors, this report seeks council support of the officer's recommendation to refuse development consent for a 2-storey dwelling at 8 Grays Place in Gunnedah. The report outlines 3 reasons for refusal. namely that the proposal represents an unacceptable impact on the built environment. It is inconsistent with the character of the locality and in relation to bulk and scale, and also does not comply with setback requirements contained within the DCP.
Do I have a councillor who would move the motion? Councillor Hoddle,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion
would you like to put that amendment and
that the decision on the DA for 8 Grays Place be deferred to a future planning meeting
very slowly, please?
of the DA for 8 Grays Place be deferred to a future planning meeting to allow the proponent an opportunity to comply with Gunnedah GSC planning requirements.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, can I just make a suggestion that we take the word planning and replace it with council, just so that way we don't have to put it to, it can go to either meeting in the month that
Yeah.
way.
Sure. Absolutely. No problem. Can I speak?
Yeah,
I'd like to second that motion, Mr. Chair.
just before we go, and would you read that back? Make sure that you're happy with your motion, the wording of your motion. So, Councillor Hoddle, are you happy with the wording?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm happy with the wording.
And we've got Councillor MacArthur. Were you seconding that motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hoddle, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. We've done a fair bit of work on this DA ourselves as councillors today. We've been to the site and we've had the proponent, Mr. Ratz, here before us this afternoon. And I think, council's about getting things done, and that site as it is a terrible situation. It's got a terrible history with it. That's what's gone on there, and I think Mr. Ratz has inherited a can of worms. But he intends to provide Gunnedah with a decent dwelling that will be his love, and I support him in his endeavours, and I hope that he can come up with a solution that will work there. And I'm sure there is a solution. It's a lovely site. You've got a great view, and I think it'll improve the street a lot. And I'm sure that council should, and I urge councillors to support him be given an opportunity to go back to planning and see if a solution can't be found. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoddle. Councillor McGrath, do you wish to ask a question or speak against the motion? If you're directing any questions, it is to the director. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question. More so, I'd like some clarification. I just think perhaps before we send Mr. Ratz away to make amendments and come back, that we need to be very, very clear in terms of what needs to be amended and why. Personally, I think we should overlook 1 and 2 of the reasons for refusal and ask that number 3 be addressed, and also explicitly kind of state that 3 should be addressed with consideration to 2.1.1a of the development control plan. So I don't know whether I'm happy to take advice as to whether to propose another amendment or whether that's advice that Andrew can provide in a planning context, but I do think we need to be clear.
Councillor McGrath, the director will speak to that.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor McGrath. Essentially, Mr. Ratz was to modify his consent, amend his consent rather than modify. We still have an obligation under the Act to consider each of those requirements. So they are sections of the Act that you see in the current reasons for refusal. So in saying that, you could, as a council, could consider that however you like once the report comes to you, but we would be bound to provide you with a report that addresses those things.
Do I have any other councillor who wishes to object to the motion or ask a question?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I do see that, and in the presentation made by Mr. Ratz today, he talked about his love and his unique property. I believe that however many residences or developments that there have been in Gunnedah over the last 100 years, that they each are unique, and there are each people that have a dream that they love and that they aspire towards. And the reason we have rules in place is that for the protection of those people, for the protection of other developments, and it is important to actually adhere to those rules. And whilst I can see Mr. Ratz's argument about the visual amenity of the site and the two-storey nature of the site, I think one thing that in particular, like Councillor McGrath, have particularly issues with the third reason for refusal that the council staff has actually provided, with which is respect to the setback. I think I've got that right, haven't I? And so that's why I would be happy to support the amendment that Councillor Hoddle has put forward, and I certainly, if the happy with 2 stories, etc., but not the one that is at more variance with what we've got everybody else doing within our shire, and I think that one is in particular importance.
Thank you, Councillor Luke. Councillor MacArthur, do you wish to comment as seconder of the motion?
I do, Mr. Chair. I'd like to firstly thank the proponent for what is a comprehensive presentation to Council today. And I would also like to state that the development control plans we have in Gunnedah are there for a very good reason and need to be respected. That being said, I think it's quite possible in this situation for some compromise to be reached, but I also do not wish to preempt what planning may negotiate with the proponent, so I won't say any further. And I look forward to seeing what may be an amended proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hoddle, as the mover, do you wish to make final comment?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. No, I don't. I think it's all been said. Thank you very much.
Then I shall put the motion by show of hands, councillors, all those in favour of the amendment. I call that unanimous. And I think having said it was an amendment, now I shall put the amendment as a motion. All those in favour of the motion. Then I call that carried unanimously. That being the last item of business for a planning environment and committee meeting for July, I call the meeting closed at 4:38 p.m. Thank you very much for your attendance.